Hey everybody, this is Cliff and Hubert from Artistic Curves Academy, and in this lesson I'm going to show you how to create effects in eye color. For example, something more along the lines of, say, something like this, or like this. Now a lot of people have asked me how is it done to actually be able to put in color so beautifully in eyes. Well, I'm going to show you guys how to do that exact same effect, and to be honest with you, it's actually relatively simple. First thing you're going to want to do is find a really high res image of a close-up of an eye like the one I have here. And that's basically the first step and the only step really. Once I show you how to do this lesson, you can pretty much go with it in any direction that you want, but you're going to pretty much have to go about the same principle in creating this same kind of eye effect with your project that you see here in this one. Okay, so first things first, you have the image of your eye. Now, what do we want to do? We're going to go ahead and make a copy of this image. So, of course, the integrity of the image doesn't get destroyed. You always have a backup of it. So hold down Control, J as in Jack, create your copy, turn off the original, and you're going to be working with this layer. So we're going to go ahead and rename that layer, just eye. And we can get started. Now, basically, when you look at this eye, you always got to keep in mind, okay, what color do I want to use in this eye? I'm going to leave that judgment up to you. You can use pretty much any color you want, and I'm just going to pretty much use whatever color that I'd like. But like I said, the system is the same. So the first thing you want to do is create a new layer. To do that, you're going to come down to your Layers tab, and you're going to select this button right here, which is Create a New Layer button. Creates a new layer right here. And you're going to go ahead and rename that layer whatever the color you want to use. So in this case, let me start off with a red. And I'm going to, first thing I want to do is select the red. So I'm going to go here to my color palette and select the red that of my choosing. It doesn't necessarily, you don't need to pick the same red that I have, just pick a red. Hit OK. Now, I want to fill this layer with that red that I chose. And to do that, I'm going to go over here to my marquee tools and select my elliptical marquee. Okay, select my elliptical marquee and just create a basic elliptical shape in the circumference of where the eye is. Okay, the size doesn't really matter. How the elliptical is shaped doesn't really matter. If you want it to be a perfect circle, then while you're creating your elliptical shape, hold down the Shift key and you'll see that it snaps to a perfect circle. Okay? And if you want to move this circle around, then while holding down the Shift key, you'll hold down the space bar at the exact same time. And you'll notice I can move my elliptical around, let go of the space bar while holding down the Shift key, let go of the space bar, and I can continue to shape out that elliptical tool. But in this case, that's not really my concern, so I'm just going to let go of the Shift or the space bar and just pretty much just create a color shape. Something like that big. Once I've got my elliptical shape created, I'm going to go in here and grab my paint bucket. Okay, if you have this tool activated, chances are it's nested, so go ahead and grab that paint bucket and then just drop that paint right inside that elliptical tool. And there you have the first step of creating your dynamic color eyeball. Alright, so I'm going to deselect this by holding down Control D as in David. Deselect that. I can grab my selection tool up here in my toolbox. And with that, I can move this anywhere I'd like. If it's too big, and you don't like it, it's just way too big for you, then you can go ahead and hold down Control and hit T. By the way, I always use shortcuts. I love shortcuts. It's just the fastest and easiest way to work. So I'm going to hold down Control, hit T, and I can manipulate this shape however way I want, or I can hold down the Shift key and keep the shape uniform as I scale in and out. Okay, now this will not work if you use any one of these points. So if I grab this point, I start doing this, and I hold down the Shift key, nothing's going to happen. It's still going to distort my shape. So again, for this lesson, I'm just going to go ahead and shrink it down, hit Enter, because I'm fine with that, and position this someplace anywhere in the eye. Okay. Now, next thing I want to do is, if you notice, this color has a really sharp edge. I want to get rid of that sharp edge by going into my filter, select blur, Gaussian blur, and here it allows me to see what that edge is going to look like. Notice if I click and move it around, it shows me the sharp edge. I let go. Really soft, and that's what I'm looking for. I can scale this image down a little bit by clicking on a minus so I can really see what that's going to look like as a whole. I like that. I'm happy with that. Go ahead and hit OK. And there I have the first step of my color here. That's not the only thing you need to do. Let's go ahead and add some more color. Create a new layer. And in this layer, I'll put some green. Rename the layer green. Same principle. Grab my elliptical marquee tool and create another shape. Again, it doesn't necessarily need to be a perfect shape. As long as it's something that you like, as long as it's something that you can work with, that's fine by me. Now I'm going to go ahead and grab my green. Here, my color picker. Drop my dial down to a green that I like. Select whatever green. Doesn't really make a difference. I like to go with like a bright green because that really stands out in the colors. Hit OK. Grab my paint bucket tool. Drop that green right in there. And if you go into the filter, you'll see the Gaussian blur tool that you just used. Go ahead and apply that. It's going to hold the same values that you want, which is exactly there. Or you can Control Z to undo that, Control D to deselect, go into your blur, change the values in here, or you can just select the values here. You'll see it's the exact same thing. If I want to go ahead and move this green someplace else, probably shift it over here. If I want to move the red, I can do that too. Select the red, move that a little bit over here, that's fine. Or if I want the red to be on top, I can go ahead and click and drag that layer up on top of that green. So the red is on top of the green. I can do that, and that's just as good. And I'm going to pick one last color. Create a new layer. And this one I'm just going to make it a random color. I'm not even going to name the layer. I'm just going to make it a random color. And let me see. Purple looks pretty good. I think I'm going to use a purple. Hit OK. Same thing. Grab my elliptical tool. Create a shape. And drop that purple inside that shape. There we have it. Control D to deselect that color. There we have that. I'm going to go ahead and grab my selection tool just so that I don't make any mistakes. Because just to let you know, if you don't have grabbed your selection tool and you start clicking this here, that, and the other thing, if you have one of these tools activated, it's going to apply that tool to whatever it is you're clicking on. This tool just allows you to literally move whatever you have selected in your layer. So I can move that guy right here, and I'm perfectly happy with that. That's fine. And then go to my filter. Again, select the Gaussian blur. It's got the same values as the other two. And there I have it. Now, here comes the next step that you would want to do. To get that same effect that we have here in this image and in this image, we need to collapse these three layers and make them just one solid layer. Okay? Now, if you're happy with what you see, leave it as is. As for me, I think the purple is just a little bit too much, so I'm going to scale this down a little bit. Hold down Control T, as in Tom, and I'm going to bring this down a little bit so I can see a little bit more of the green and the red that's just poking through there. Something like that. I'm happy with that. Hit Enter. Now I'm happy. I'm going to go ahead and merge all of this stuff down. So I'm going to select the top layer, hold down the Shift key, select the bottom layer of my colors. Those are selected. Now I'm going to merge it so that it becomes just one solid layer. Hold down Control and the E key. That just merged all three of those colors into one layer. And with that layer, I'll just name it colors. Great, I'm happy with that. As you can see, it still looks nothing like this, much less like this. So that means we have one more thing we need to do to get that effect. And to do that is in your layers palette, actually, and it's right here in your blending modes. If you were to click and open that up, you'll notice you have all these tools in your blending mode, but we only need one, and that tool is overlay. Click on that overlay, and there you have it. Simple. All you need to do, create your three colors in different separate layers, give it a little bit of a blur, a little Gaussian blur, so you can soften the edges. Once you've got your colors allocated, you know what colors you're using, merge them down to just one layer by holding the Control key and E, which merges everything down. Rename the layer, and then apply the blending mode overlay, and you'll get this exact same effect.